Hello, my name is James Hennelly. I'm the director of RDA Toolkit, and I'm happy to be here with you today, even though it's just by video, to give you a brief tour of the RDA Toolkit demo beta site. The beta site is located at beta, B-E-T-A, .rdatoolkit.org. It is accessible to anyone who has an RDA subscription. If you do not have a subscription, you can still access it, the beta site, by signing up for a free 30-day trial of the toolkit. That will give you the access you need. The most important thing to remember about the beta site is that it is a beta. It is a site in development, in a work in progress. There's still a lot of work being done on its features and functionality. We are still making adjustments to the display of the content. And of course, we're still working on the content itself. So please approach the beta site with this in mind, that everything you see is kind of in work and not finalized. We did put this beta site out, though, because we want to get your feedback on it. And to that end, there is a submit feedback button here in the upper right. And you can click on that and it'll take you to a form where you can type in any thoughts or suggestions you have about the beta site. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. Let us know what you'd like to see added or functionality that you'd like to request. And I will share that information with the RDA steering committee, and we'll give your ideas full consideration. So jumping into the actual tour of the toolkit, the beta toolkit. This is our new home page. You can see we've added these blocks that have different information on them. In the right column here, we have a news, and this pulls from our blog, our RDA Toolkit blog, and it'll just collect together important information about the toolkit. That'll hopefully be right there, easy for you to see and reference if you need it. We also have information about recently added or updated instructions. Excuse me. These blocks are easily interchangeable and can be added and adapted. So if there's any ideas of different types of information that you'd like to have readily available when you come to the toolkit, please let us know that. That's something that's a good piece of feedback. Right in front of you, you have the big login box. So like the original RDA toolkit, the one that's currently in use, you can log into your subscription with IP authentication or with just a simple account ID and password. In the toolkit, though, we also allow for personal profiles. So in the original toolkit, that meant you had to log in again with your personal profile. We've set it up now that you can just log in directly with your profile and do a single login to get in. This did necessitate that any personal profiles have to have unique usernames to them. So if you already have a profile set up, but you have a very kind of generic username like Mary or John or Carlos or Maria, something like that, it's probably not unique, and so the login won't work. So you need to go into your profile and change your username so that it's something unique. This is best done by going into the original toolkit and changing your profile there rather than on the beta site. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to my profile. And you can see when I am logged in, my institution is up here, ALA, that's where I work. Also, my name is up here by my profile. I can go here to manage my profile or log out. And of course, there's a big welcome back, James Hennelly. So I'm logged in. And one of the other features we added was once I log in, it'll tell me what are the instructions that I most recently viewed, or what are the articles that I most recently viewed. And you can see those listed here. The browse, and I can click on those and go right back to where I was most recently working. The browse structure at the top is based around entities and elements and guidance and policy statements. We've kind of cut back on the old tab structure we had in the original site and the kind of workflow-based browse structure that we had there. We're taking a different approach. So these entities are all the entities that are associated with the library reference model from IFLA. They are put in the same order that they appear in the library reference model. And you can use this to click into any entity, and then that'll allow you to navigate to elements within that entity. I'll come back to this shortly. I just want to go over these other tabs real quick. Guidance are general guidance chapters that cover kind of broader concepts that are important to RDA. We have the policy statements will be gathered here, and you'll be able to browse specific policy statements here. And then we have what we call the resources tab that includes the glossary, vocabulary encoding schemes, and the relationship matrix. I'll show you these later. The relationship matrix is meant to be the kind of new version of what was in appendices, I think it's I, J, K, and L, or M. But they include the relationship designators. And then you have the content that was associated with the appendices in the original toolkit site. And then finally, you have some other information here that we think is useful to catalogers. And this list is likely to grow. I will probably be adding AACR2 into this resource area. So those are the main browse categories we have. I'm going to go into one of the entities. I'm going to go into work. The bulk of the content in this toolkit is in the entities and elements. So this will be the main area where you'll come to nav. One of the important nav pieces we have hasn't been developed yet. It's just planned. It's a graphical browser, a visual presentation of how RDA entities and elements are structured and relate to one another, etc. And that piece will show up kind of at the top of this right column over here above this related sections. That piece hasn't been developed yet, but we hope to have that ready early 2019. So look for that. This is a typical, of course, entity and element page. The structure you see here will be repeated often. You'll see definition and scope, a pre-recording section, recording section with the different types of recording methods underneath. You'll see here we have cross-references. Obviously, there's no numbering here. We've heard a lot of feedback from people about whether we should have instruction numbering or not. There has been a lot of discussion about this within the RSC and the RDA board, and for a number of reasons, which are detailed in a recent RDA steering committee paper, we decided we're not going to number the instructions, but we are going to provide a kind of citation number, if you will, that will be accessible to everyone so that they can use that number to reference an instruction in print and verbal communication. These cross-references now are based on text, and you can click on a cross-reference and go to that page or that passage that's being referenced, or I'm going to go back here real quick. you can click on this little icon next to the link. It's like looks like a page with an arrow. What that does is it pops up that cross-reference in what we call the right rail, this right column. It'll pop up there and you'll see that text. So this idea here is you don't have to navigate away from where you're at. You can see what that reference is, assess whether it's something you want to learn more about, or if you want to just stay where you're at. It's not that useful. And you can close it with the X. And you can see if I, oops, let me go back. Didn't mean to do that. You can close it with the X, and if you open you can have a couple of these open, and they'll just, as you can see, kind of layer on top of each other. And you just close the X to pull them back up, put them away. Another feature here is at the bottom we have the elements. These are a list of all the elements associated with an entity, and you can see in some cases these are very long lists. So I can either scroll through it, or if I know the element I'm looking for, I can just type to it. So here I can go to Creator of Work. I'll click on that and go through the Creator of Work. So this is a typical element page. Again, you get the definition and scope. But with the element reference, we also, with the element page, we also have an element reference, this little blue box, which you can click on to open. And it gives you a bit of metadata about the content, about the particular element, I should say. So you get the IRI associated with this element. This is a link to the registry. It'll open the registry page for this element. You get the domain, range, alternate labels, user tasks associated with the element, the different recording methods that are viable for this element. And then also you get a list of mark fields that are relevant to this element as well. In the current toolkit, many of you know that there's a large mark to RDA, RDA to mark mapping of RDA instructions and mark fields. And that rich map is actually just a large flat HTML table, and it's very difficult to maintain. And we couldn't carry that over into the current site. We're looking for a new approach to doing the mark mapping, to doing mappings of RDA to other encoding schemes in general. So that's still in development, something we hope to address in the next year or so. Within the next year, I would say. But in the meantime, what we've done is created this listing in the metadata section of all the relevant mark mappings, all the relevant mark fields for an element. So then we have the pre-recording space. You can see there's some extensive instructions here. And then we have examples. Here you're going to see examples that we call basic set examples that are typical of the examples you're used to seeing in the original toolkit. But we have added a number of new types of examples to the toolkit, to this beta toolkit. One are examples based on recording methods. So in this case, you have a recording unstructured description, and we give you an example that is an unstructured description. Then we give you that same example, but as a structured description in the next section. So it gives you the source of the particular value that's been recorded for this element. And then we give you an identifier for the same entity and an IRI. So we give you all four types of, in this particular case, you get all four types of recording methods, all based on the same particular entity, or subject matter, I should say. We also are providing some relationship examples. This is viewed as relationship examples. This is an expression of a linked data example. So here you can see here's the text version of the linked data statement with the RDA element verbalized here in the middle in italics as creator of work. And then here you have the same expression done in a linked data kind of visualization with using IRIs. And this one is linked to the registry as well. These aren't linked because we can't verify that these links will continue to work. We don't have control over them. Then we also have a view and context example, which gives you the element that you're looking at in relationship to other closely associated pieces, other elements, related elements, and to give you kind of a sense of how someone might typically record data about a resource like this, and how your this particular element kind of fits in with the rest of the other elements. And then, of course, here you get the related elements that include broader elements, narrower ones, etc. These pages come with certain tools that we think will be useful to people. So what you can do is you can highlight anywhere in this text, and it'll pop up this toolbar that'll allow you to, one, add a new bookmark. A bookmark is strictly a mark in the text saying, oh, I just want to be able to come back to this spot. You can't add a note or anything. It's not something you share. It's just for personal use. I just want to be able to get back here quickly. You can give it a title. You can organize it in a folder. And you can ask to receive notifications if the page is updated. And what that means is if the RSC chooses to make changes to this particular element in some way, you'll get a notification that this page has changed. So you may want to go reevaluate your bookmark or note and see if you need to move it or delete it or change it in some way. The other thing you can do is make a note. This is the note button. The note is the same as the bookmark, except it can be shared, it can be kept private or shared locally. That is within your subscription, within the people in your account. So if you, at one institution, the staff members that have access to the toolkit can share notes with each other. You can also organize these into folders, and you can write text in here that gives instructions that will pop up right when you do it. So I can show you if I were to put test and test. I'll make this a little different, testing, so you can see the difference. And save it. You'll see that, where'd we go? I think I went further up. Here's my note. It's here, right here, and if I click on it, it gives me both the title and the text that I saved. And then I can close it. Okay, and then finally, the last piece of tool, the last tool in this toolbar is the link icon, create a link. So you click on that, and it'll give you a URL that you can use to create a link from a document that you might be working on into the toolkit. So if you need to link to this particular spot in the toolkit, you can simply choose the create link option and then click copy, and you have it, and you can put it into your document. So next I want to show you some of our search features. So I can search on a term. In the current toolkit, we have two types of search. We have a search that searches only RDA, and it's called a quick search, and it's right there up front for you. Or there's an advanced search, which takes you to a specific menu and allows you to do a lot more refining. In this new beta site, we have a single search that allows you to search all of the content in the toolkit, or you can choose to refine it to just RDA only or policy statements only, exact title, which I'll show you shortly, or contributed documents. Contributed documents are the workflows or training materials that you might create in the Toolkit HTML editor and share with people globally or locally. And I'll show you that feature shortly. So anyway, we can do a search. So I'm going to type in font size and do a search. And you can see I get results that are organized. I have my search terms here. Now I can choose to do that search with quotation marks around it. That's called phrasing. Or I can use a wildcard search. I can use Boolean operators in this search as well. All those things are available to you. You can choose to refine your search. Here you have several filters. So I can then filter my document down to say, just show me entity results or elements or glossary hits or guidance material or resource material, etc., like that. So I can use this to kind of narrow down my search results if I like. I can also do that for policies and contributed documents. So you can see here on font size, I got 11 hits, and it's displaying 10 of them in the RDA documents. I also got 2 hits in policy statements, and I got no hits in contributed documents. So, and then you can choose to kind of go see more results here, and you would see this see more results options for these two if there were more than 5 or 10 hits, I think. So now font size is an element, and if I wanted to kind of, if I knew I just want to go to the font size article, I could change my search to exact title and type in font size, and it'll take me right to that element page. I don't need to skip around if I know exactly where it is I want to go. So if you know the exact title, you can just type it in and it'll take you there. One of the unique features here on this page is it has a vocabulary list, and you can see a little orange dotted underline on these terms. These are vocabulary terms, and that orange dotted underline means I can simply click on that and I'll pop up the definition for that term for me. I don't have to navigate away to see that. So I also created some test policy statements on this page because I want to show you how policy statements are intended to work. So I can click here. It tells me this related sections tells me there's 2 types of policy statements that are active here. In this case, it's BLPS and LCPCC. That's British Library Policy Statements and Library of Congress Program for Cooperative Cataloging Policy Statements. So I can choose one to look at. Say I choose BLPS. And when I scroll down, you'll see the policy statements appear in this right rail. See the faint line above it comes across and connects to the box that it's referencing or the material that it's referencing. So this policy statement, apply this option, refers to this option. And the policy statements will always align with the text that they're referencing, in the RDA text that they're referencing. So the same is true here. Again, it lines up with this option, says do not apply this option. So these are very short policy statements. That's typical for British Library policy statements. So they fit in their entirety right here. It's no problem. But something like Library of Congress sometimes has longer policy statements. So you can see here's an example of that. It's still a scrollable window. You can kind of process the information. But we will allow you to click on this term and go to the policy statement browse if you want to just see the full text without having to scroll or anything like that, and of the policy statement. But part of this goal here with this right rail was to reduce you toggling back and reduce the need for users to toggle back and forth between policy statement and RDA content. You can see them together side by side, and hopefully that will make your work a little easier. So next I want to cover some of these other features in this top toolbar. Well, I guess I should go over resources real quick. Here's the glossary. I'm going to show you that real quick. It's pretty straightforward. I can click in by alphabet here and see all the terms that are in the glossary. You can see that it has both the term and the inverse of the term. And those inverses, you can see, all have the light orange link, so that means I can pop up the inverse definition again. So, and the glossary is pretty straightforward. We also have the vocabulary encoding scheme, which pulls together all those vocabulary lists that I showed you before. So the font size one is right here. Include in this display of the vocabulary list includes the definition and the registry notation. So, and I can return back to vocabulary encoding system. Some of these are rather long lists, and those we have alphabetized, so you can jump around a little more easier if you're looking for something you want. So that's the vocabulary encoding scheme. And then this is the relationship matrix, which is kind of meant to, this is where you'll find the relationship designators kind of organized together. This is still a bit of a work in progress, but it's you can see it picks one entity and then kind of relates it to all the other entities. So it's working in the different domain and ranges. And I can click on one of these, say place to manifestation, and it'll give me a list of all the relationship designators associated with it. So now I'm going to jump up to these, the top toolbar. Here's your bookmarks and notes. It's pretty straightforward. Here's a folder I created. So here's bookmarks. Here are notes. You can edit them here. I just click on the pencil to do my editing, etc. And you can delete them by clicking on the trash can. It's pretty straightforward. Here are documents. This is what I talked about earlier. You can create documents in this toolkit just like you did in the original toolkit. It's an HTML editor that we provide. You can create, give it a title, version, set access for sharing, whether you want it to be shared locally, globally, or kept private. We support every language that's available in this software. Is here. One of the features we added was this add author. In the original toolkit, these workflows, these documents can only be owned by a single person, and that only that person who created it can edit that document. So what we've done is we've allowed for multiple people to have access to a document for editing. Now, while only one person can edit at a time, the document will be locked when one person is working in the document. But once that person is done, it can be opened by another person who can come in and review it and make edits, etc., like that. So any of these documents can be shared by multiple people. And this is the workspace. It can be expanded easily, dragged there or popped out. We have a list of macros here that are available. You can put in links. You can do numbered list or bulleted lists, change indentations, etc. It's all available, bold, italics, underline. We'll be adding even a few more features to this macro list at the top in the coming weeks. I think it should meet most needs of most everyone. The only warning I give about this is it's an HTML editor. It's not a Word document. So if you cut and paste your Word document in here, your formatting is going to get probably be a little goofy. So just remember that. And if you have documents in the old site, we have changed the structure of the beta site, of the RDA content in the beta site so significantly that you really will have to rewrite your documents, review and rewrite your documents for this new toolkit. Going back to the documents, I just want to show you. Here are your documents that you've created, contributed, and you can access them for editing. And then here are ones you subscribe to. So by subscribe, what we've done is, people who globally share, people who share documents with everybody who subscribes to RDA are all contained here, but it's a big long list of stuff, and we want to make it more manageable for people to search and find things in. So what we're going to allow you to do is subscribe to specific documents that you find particularly useful. And that is kind of put them in your documents collection and make them much more easily accessible to you. And you can search these documents and filter them by a number of different ways. And once you've done that, you can subscribe by document, by single individual document. You can say, I want to subscribe to this document, this one. Or you can subscribe to a particular institution that's creating the document. So if you're particularly fond of documents from, say, the German National Library, you can subscribe to the German National Library and have easy access to all of those documents. So that's a feature that we've added as well. The last thing I wanted to show you were these views, manage views. This is a concept that's still under development, but really important for the future of the toolkit. This is where you go in and set your preferences for what policy statements you want to see, which one you want to be your primary policy statement. You can see here, I've chosen BLPS. Whether you want policy statements to be always open and displayed when you come to an instruction page, etc. And you can pick what examples you want to see, what types of examples you want to see or not see, whether you want the element reference open or not. So you can set all these preferences, and we expect institutions to set an institutional preference. So that's where this access thing comes up. You can make a view private, that's just one that you use, or you can make an institutional that's shared across your subscription and across your staff, and sets kind of a baseline of these are the things that you should be looking at. So, and you could always create new views and copy an old view. So if you have an institutional view that has certain preferences set, you can use that as a beginning point, and then an individual can kind of tweak it a little bit to suit their particular work needs. One of the other things too we're working on is this RDA template. Right now it only offers RDA standard, which is the full run of RDA instructions. But we hope in the coming months or more to add to this new ways to kind of filter and rearrange RDA instructions around specific needs. So our hope is we can kind of generate a template of RDA that's, say, for music catalogers, or for RDA for legal resources or cartographic materials. So we can work it kind of around specific subject matters or whatever particular needs might arise. So that's something that we're working towards the future, and these views are set up to do that. So you can create unique views and set them up. You can set up multiple views to be tailored to certain types of work that you might do at different points during your work day or week or month, etc. So that's something we're working towards as well. I'm going to end the tour there. I hope this was interesting to you. I hope it will inspire you to go look at the beta site a little closer and to really poke around and try things, and maybe submit a little feedback to us about what the direction we're headed and where you'd like to see us continue to go or not go. Thank you for your time. Any questions you have, I'm sure there are some people in the audience, in the room today, who can answer those questions. If they can't, feel free to contact me directly at jhennelly@ala.org. I'm happy to answer any questions or take any suggestions you might have. Thank you.